Tommy's into some weird music. It sounded like Jethro Tull to start with.
It's been a long few days. I don't even know how many days we've been doing this.
Oh, there's a lot more left, my friend. World's toughest bike race. I mean, that's
the world's toughest bike race.
Dang.
A lot of people ask, how was it? And I end up finding myself saying, Ram was a little bit fun and a lot gnarly.
Now looking back at it, there's no way you can prepare for it. Like, I felt we were as prepared as we could be, but I don't know, man. It's like it just slaps you right in the face. Mentality-wise, I felt pretty good. We went in, we had the meeting. I was feeling pretty good about it. The meeting at the hall at the beginning. I had the Frenchies there, and they looked kind of beat up. We thought, dude, no problem. They're all beat up.
The one guy had a crash right before. We foolishly thought we might have had a chance.
And they crushed it.
They did. Hey, to their credit.
Hats off.
Yeah. Well, I still think we showed up physically, ready for it. We did really well. We prepared.
Yeah.
We prepared really well. I mean, we started early. We did lots of long rides and a lot of them.
So we worked with Anna Sparks at Spark Systems, LLC. She did a great job. And taking it from, like, myself, before working with Anna, like, I was a complete carb burner. So I loved, my breads and eating ice cream. And working with her, we learned about how to adapt our bodies to make it to where we burned fats. I was down to 164 pounds or something like that.
Really?
On race day, dude. I was lean and mean.
Lean and mean.
So it was good. It was good, and I was feeling good. So right from the start, there's a neutral start that kind of works, and you have this kind of like parade route that you go out. So we go out together on that. And only flat that I had in all of Ram was in the first 5 miles. So we're on a bike path. I mean, pristine, nice, there's nothing on there. And we get to going on the bike path, and pretty soon I get a flat. So we hop off, and Ben just takes off his tire and throws it on mine, and that's the next time. Next time I see him is almost to Borrego Springs because of the van problems.
The Beast, we called it. Yeah, so its purpose was to be the follow vehicle that I primarily would live out of, and he would primarily be in the minivan. On the very first day, it broke. Like, it totally broke. Like, the transmission just broke.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, and that was really lame. Like, at the start line, we're pulling away, and it's in limp mode because it doesn't have enough oil in the transmission. It was a hard moment.
Tough.
And then so we finally find out where the van was and how to get to it. I think we had to steal our media truck and use that, right? And then we get over to the van and we're just raiding it like pirates pillaging, on like a short time, like it's gonna explode if we don't hurry, kind of a thing. And in just a few minutes, we pull out a whole bunch of stuff, throw it in the back of the truck, and then go find Tommy. Now, it sounds like it was just a few minutes, but getting to the van and all of that took quite a while, and then get the truck. But eventually we found him, and then we were off and rolling.
Tommy is crushing it. Seriously, he's out front. He's the French team that we're worried about is in 3rd place right now. I know it's early in the race, but still, Tommy's doing well. So we got to get to him though and give him a break. So we're trying to figure that out.
And
you passed him, didn't you?
I passed him, so we were in 1st place.
Yeah, for a little bit we were in 1st place.
I was in 1st place. Just want to point that out.
And then we're going through the desert. Now we're like officially, you know, in no man's land, and we already make like our first wrong turn. Our follow vehicle told me to go this other way or at this roundabout somewhere in Borrego Springs. We were supposed to go right, and then eventually the crew figured out that, yeah. And then so the high heart rate and the heat, like, is not my friend. That's something that I struggle with. So the heat's a hard thing. Even though we're from Arizona, like for me, I don't know. It's just. I usually get a little queasy and I can't eat very well. So by the end of that first day, that first night, like I thought I was gonna puke and pass out, that kind of stuff. But it passes. It's not like that's a lingering feeling, but you feel just miserable, you know.
Got a little too hot today. Pushing a little too hard in the heat. I don't think so. That's what happens, but I'll bounce back. Just puke a little bit and we'll call it good. He'll be alright.
Because I went a little too hard in the heat. That's the problem. I went a little too hard in the heat, or I didn't keep myself cool enough. And I know those risks, and yet because I think we kind of had all those little mishaps in the beginning, you know, you just overlook them and push a little harder to try to make up time.
Like we were catching up. Yeah.
You know, it felt like we were from behind already, right? So I remember that first night stepping into the motorhome when I was off and like the sun was going down. And
You gotta go to the motorhome?
just to get adjusted, yeah.
See, the funny thing is though, like in the desert that night, like I felt great. Like I was going
After
on my
the sun
TT
goes
bike.
down.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
about 6 o'clock, 5 to 6 o'clock. Like that was my time to just vomit.
That's the nice time. No, he's right though. It just is such a long. I mean, I didn't expect to feel that way the first night, and then by the next day it was gone. You know, like so we're good. But yeah, that first night I was like, whew. You know, you get through. Like you see the sun go down on the first day. You're riding your bike and you see the sun go down, and for most people, like they're gonna go home. If they rode their bike that day at all, they're gonna go home, have dinner, sleep in their bed. They may or may not even ride the next day. They might take it the day off to rest, you know, that kind of thing. But in these races, like you've been riding all day, you see the sun go down, and you're gonna ride all night. You're not sleeping, and you're gonna see the sun come back up, and you're gonna do that for another like 6 times.
Woo! It's been a fun day. I think we're a day in now, right, Bobo? Almost a day in. So, all right, we'll get to Prescott then in 24 hours. I like it. Excellent. Thanks for tuning in. More adventures to come.
For me, the hardest part was probably going through some of the mountains in Arizona during the heat. And we were both a little frustrated and just hot and tired and hot. Like it was hot. You know, I don't know that it was the hottest here in Ram, but it just was hot. And so we had a little quick, that was one of the few times where both of us were off our bike at the same time. Like rarely did we do more than just a few seconds in a transition. Like it was pretty common for us to be quick.
Sure hope that's a downhill up there.
But we had a little 5-minute meeting. We all crammed into the back of that minivan. Me and him and maybe Bryce was there, I can't remember. And the Masons were driving. And we decided that we had to do something different. Like it was stupid to be out there for like 60 minutes at a time, just draining your energy.
Bacon like a toasted cheese.
And then it just wasn't working. And so we decided to do short pulls, and we didn't go based off of distance. So, and we just went off of time, like 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. It just kind of depended on where there was a pull out, but somewhere in that 10 to 20 minute range tops during the heat and the hard climbing, because there was some decent, elevation gain in that section. I think foot per mile is still one of the hardest parts of the whole race, I think. Well, actually from Prescott all the way to Flagstaff, I think is one of the hardest sections. But Mingus, especially, Camp Verde on. And so we were just cranking it then. We reduced the time, and we were going really well, actually. So up until that point, it was kind of a difficult moment. But we decided together that we'd do that. And that's the day we moved into second place. Like, in those mountains, that strategy propelled us forward, and kept our morale and our energy high. It was a good call.
That was fun, man. Nice little Mingus descent. Good times. Did you like the scenery?
Scenery?
It's rad, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool town coming through Jerome. It's good to go fast finally. All that climbing.
Oh yeah.
In Arizona, that second day in the mountains, pushing a little bit, that's when I got like the first signs of pneumonia. Was good old Arizona, my home state. So that was tough, because then the pneumonia had a ripple effect, I'd say.
Feeling good out of being in Hollywood.
Do you want your yellow thing back on ice?
No, it hurts my neck.
During Graham, the whole thing, there's times where I was sucking swamp water and Ben was doing really well, and then times where he wasn't doing so well, then I was doing well. It seemed to kind of coincide with each other, so it was kind of very complementary.
Awesome. Yeah.
Worked out well.
Let's do it.
Edward.
Yeah, 5 miles to a turn.
5 miles to a turn, just in case we're all getting mixed up in this.
What's it on?
We turn in 5 miles, just so you guys know.
That's our what?
So take a look at
80.
your map book so we know what
Get out of here.
87.
Oh, dude, you gotta remind us.
Oh, yeah,
we're
so
getting
that's
in
the
zone
beeline.
of this, we're gonna just go right by it. So
Yeah.
we don't want to be doing
We're in
that.
camping territory.
Hey, 200, 3.5 miles behind us.
Pray we can stay awake.
Going up the road this way, but it's on top here, right?
Okay. Sleepy. Get him, beast.
Yes, sir.
Feeling good. I always feel good after a little sleep.
Well, you got your
Looking great.
I do.
Ready to rock a TT bike and
Just as soon as Tom's ready to
give Ben some rest.
It's great.
Here we go.
middle of the night in the middle of nowhere.
This is the first time that I've done Race Across America, but it's not the first time I've done some ultra races. And it's the first time that I've had like a med guy on staff or on crew, and huge difference, like huge difference. So Dr. Neff is also a cyclist, and he's really a pretty good friend. But his clinic, his Integra Medical Clinic, is like an integrated clinic. So he's not just a chiropractor. He's got a nurse practitioner on board, and they do all kinds of stuff, like, you know, from pain relief and pain management stuff to all of the wellness things you can expect. And so having him there was amazing. But not just anybody. I mean, he was really like all in. I mean, he got less sleep than anybody else. He would go days without sleeping.
This is my sleep deprivation
He
personality right here.
batted his.
And he looked like it too. He was a total wreck, right? Like, poor guy.
We're doing a direct follow, and Ben and Tom did an impromptu meeting. So we were in the truck and we stopped just on the edge of the road, and an official drove by right during that, and Ray luckily said, "Hey guys, we need to get moving," right when the official started yelling, "You guys need to get moving." So I think he heard Ray yelling to the guys, and thankfully just kept on going, but he could have nailed us because we were in the lane of travel, stopped. So thankfully they were merciful.
They're just metal little covered like this. All right. Could have been way worse.
Through southern Utah, I had my bike cable break. So I was riding on my Madone and figured I couldn't shift anymore. So on my back derailleur, I couldn't shift, and so I was stuck in a gear. So I shifted to middle gearish, and I basically could shift my front derailleur, but not my back derailleur. So I had a 2-3 hour stretch there, so 30-40 miles or so. It was my turn pulling where I had 2 gears. I called it the go gear and the climbing gear, and that was it. So it was, who wants to do ram on a fixie? Sounds like fun. But that was kind of the start to the end of my troubles. Is the cable breaking, and then in Colorado, after we swapped that bike went off to go get fixed with Ray Harrison, our mechanic and the co-crew chief. And while he was fixing that, basically we were climbing, so I actually used Ben's bike for a day. We spent a lot of time working with Psychologic as a retailer up in Scottsdale with Porrick, and he's world-class bike fitter, and they're awesome in getting us dialed in to be perfect on our bikes for our biometrics for our bodies. And so going from my perfectly dialed in bike to Ben's bike, which is perfectly dialed for him but not for me,
Not a recommended thing.
not recommended, and kind of did me in. So I ended up getting some tendonitis in my Achilles shortly thereafter, and that was with me for the whole second half of the race. California caught up to me in Colorado.
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't realize was so much what you do like today affects not only today, but tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So if you're not hydrating or fueling very well the first day, or if you go a little overboard, then that's really gonna put you in a hole maybe 24 or 48 hours later. Colorado, I was dead, like going through Colorado. Ben did a lot of the climbing and had to kind of shoulder that while I was getting my nutrition back down and figuring out what that guy needed to do to.
And it was hot. I remember it being hot in Colorado. That probably didn't help.
No.
Like if you had some nutrition issues and the heat, it's a bad combo, man. Like you can feel real crappy real fast. I loved Colorado. Like for some reason, I felt pretty okay in Colorado. I remember just I felt good. I had a good time in Colorado. I enjoyed it. For some reason, I was jovial. In fact, I remember a race official was tailing us for a lot of Colorado. Do you remember that?
Yep.
A lot of Colorado, we had this race official tailing us. And at one of the places, right after an exchange, he was pulled over where we were doing the exchange. So you always want to be spot on in your exchanges. And he had a dog in his vehicle. I'm a huge dog fan. And so we ended up chatting it up. And I think he was one of the only officials that went almost across the whole U.S., by the way. He was one of those like long-term volunteers. The scenery was like epic. I mean, the Colorado Rockies, we're summiting some stuff where there's these gorgeous meadows and, you know, clouds in the sky and that kind of stuff. It was just, I mean, it was super hard. Like I would be okay not going back to Colorado anytime soon to climb the Rockies. I mean, they were tough, like back breaking, lower back kind of, you know, painful climbs, but
I was sleeping. It was nice.
but they were beautiful. They were beautiful.
This gorgeous country or what? Let's get out of here.
Somewhere in the Colorado-Kansas territory, we had 2 tornado warnings, I think, in the race. But this one was legit.
Yeah.
And Tommy was
So,
riding at that
I was
point.
on my TT bike, you know, in my position, tucked and going, and you know, knew about the storm warnings and stuff. And it was dark. It was dark black clouds around. And I was going, and I remember looking off to the left, and here's this cloud, like just like you're describing. It's got these fingers, and the fingers are just twisting, right?
That's so
and it's good. I'm like, huh. So I got on my radio. I was like, hey, Masons, you might want to keep an eye on that cloud over there. If it starts getting bigger or touching the ground, we got some issues. But luckily it dissipated, so it went away. So I remember thinking at this point, I'm rocking on my TT bike. I'm feeling pretty good. We're cruising through there fast. And as we're going, I'm like, okay, the storm is behind us because it was clear in front of me. Like I couldn't see anything. So I thought, okay, if I can go fast enough and stay in front of the storm, then hopefully those teams behind us get stuck in it, and that's going to slow them down, and we're going to be just, you know, going, and hopefully if it's swirling, I get a little tailwind. It's going to be awesome. So as we're going, the storm was actually, so it was coming from behind. There's some epic shots that we have of this, you know, storm behind me as I'm riding, and then pretty soon it just comes on, and it's just like out here with our monsoons in Arizona, just pouring down rain. And it's not just rain, then it turns quickly into hail. So as I'm going, there's this tink, tink, tink going off my helmet, right? And they're like, you know, dime-size hail just going off. And I'm just like, this sucks, you know, but I'm going. And so as I'm going, like, that's okay, I'll ride through that. And then pretty soon it was crack and then flash. And I was like, okay, I'm done. So I get off and get in the van, and the Masons have to, like, get my car or get my bike and put it on the car and rack. And so they're just soaked, and I'm just soaked. And we waited out for a little bit, and it's like, okay, we were kind of watching the flashes and going, okay, 1,000, 2, 1,000. That's far enough away. Let's get back on. So get back on and start riding for a little bit. And it was no more than like a quarter mile that we go past that. And then just another huge flash, just like shakes your bones, you know, type of thing with the thunder. So I get back in the van, and I was like, okay, we're waiting this out.
Ooh, mama.
Whoa, that one about rocked you right off your bike. You stopped pedaling like, oh, am I still alive?
I was like, yes, sir.
Yeah, I hear ya.
And meanwhile, like, they're trying to tell Ray what's going on, and Ray's like, oh, it's just a storm, just get out there. No. I was like, you tell Ray. He can get his butt out here and do that.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop raining until
It rained
the next day.
Yeah, so I remember
all
that.
night.
I remember that night. It was flat.
Yep, that was Kansas.
It was flat-ish, and I was like working my tail off for like 12 miles an hour. Like
Yeah.
it was windy and
Yeah.
raining, just in your face, wind and rain.
We're racing across the country. Freaking cloudy weather and wide shoulders. That's a stroke of
There you go.
Kansas being kind to us.
I don't think that helped the pneumonia either that night, being wet and windy. Because by the next day, I had full-on like fever and coughing. And I think that was, so that must have been, because Kansas and Missouri were the huge days where it was bleeding and stuff.
Yeah, check out his bike. That's how he's feeling.
Yeah, I got a little bit of that earlier.
there's some videos on social media, and it makes it look like I was coughing up blood, and so I wasn't. But what happened is I was coughing up mucus that had like green, you know, whatever in it. It was some bacterial infection. I don't know. The medical crew, Bryce and Sonia, basically our medical crew, they were able to get some prescription antibiotics, you know, and that really helped, like, take some of the fever away. But the phlegm was there for days, and so it would just like, I don't know how to explain it. It ended up being just a really violent way to expel like all of that mucus, and so the coughing just was so just harsh, like near blood vessel popping, kind of just like, and so then my nose would just erupt into nosebleeds, like all day and all night for like 2.5 days, and then a little bit towards the end too. But for 2.5 days, like, it really didn't stop. So I would every vehicle that we had with whatever napkins were stuffed in like glove boxes and stuff were totally exhausted after the 2.5 days. And then eventually in Missouri somewhere, I started getting tampon hand-ups out the window, you know, to shove a tampon.
With the full string.
And the string was flapping on my lips. It was just gross. And my kits were bloody. My face was always bloody. My bike was bloody. Here's the part that people don't connect the dots if you're a cyclist and think this through. If you're just dripping snotty like blood all over your top tube, like, it gets on your top tube and then it drips down onto whatever's below there, right? So water bottles, pedals, stuff like that. So every time I took a drink, every time for 2.5 days, every time I took a drink, the first like experience you had with that bottle was like a bloody snot, like mucus ball.
Bloody Mary?
Oh, gross.
We're gonna get through this day, one pull at a time, doing 20 minutes, and then we're gonna try to do an hour and a half, give Ben some sleep, and get going.
Anytime you get off, like, you're getting off in the middle, just on the side of the road, there's rocks, there's whatever, so on your shoes, your cleats underneath there just get shredded. During that Kansas stretch when it was raining, I couldn't clip in at all, so I had to swap and use my spare set of shoes. Well, my bad. Those were old shoes that I've had for years, and I didn't think I was going to need them, right? So rookie brand mistake. And they weren't the right stuff. It was before I'd done my fit at Psychologic and things like that, so they weren't as dialed in as I thought. But I thought it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. You know, it was my turn to pull. I figured for 30, 45 minutes or so. That would be a time where they said, oh, by the way, we need you to go a little bit further. And so my 30, 45 minutes that was in my head ended up being a 2-hour pull. I think that with just the difference in the slight little, you know, a couple millimeters off, a couple things, whatever, in an ultra cycling race like that, after cycling for 2-3 days, really flared up that Achilles. And so after I got off the bike, it was just sore, and you know, did a couple more rotations, finally figured out, hey, it's these shoes. They finally got my shoe swapped out so I can go back to my old ones. I get off the bike and I'm just hobbling into the van, thinking, this is it. Like, either this is gonna work or I'm done. Like, I can't pedal because it hurt so bad. It was like taking a knife across your Achilles every time you tried to pedal. It was just terrible. But from Kansas on, like, every time, like, it wasn't fixed, it wasn't better.
Right.
Like, every time I got on, it was like, okay, are my legs gonna work? Like, will this not hurt so bad that I can't, you know, go on? And it would take sometimes 3 or 4 miles to warm up. It would take sometimes to go, and I had to adjust how I rode to make it to where it didn't hurt. And like climbing hills, like I had to go just in my granny gear and like sit up as high as I could and just try not to move that Achilles at all, type of a thing. So it was some slow pedaling, getting through things, but made it.
I'm not so sure I like Missouri. Freak, dude.
What day is it?
I don't know what day it is. Dude, all I know is there's more roadkill in Kansas and Missouri than the whole planet put together. There's apparently you're not supposed to pick your nose and ride your bike.
Go inside, feed them, and get them some rest.
I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that, but
Can we get a time on the bike?
I don't know how many quarts of blood I left out there, all over Kansas and Missouri. The weather's good though. I gotta say that. Don't you think? Larry's doing all right over there. Hey Larry,
Sir,
you doing all right over there?
doing fine.
See, he's doing all right over there.
So we had just passed the halfway marker on one of those rides where I think it was a little bit tough, and we were trying to figure out some help for him. There was a little bit in the nighttime, but I remember that day being the most of trying to figure this out. And so I would come off, and to his credit, he's like you said, it's like you slice his Achilles with a knife, and he still gets on the bike, right? But maybe 5-10 minutes later, he's radioing in, going like this, I can't do it. And so then they'd try something else. And so I remember going across the halfway mark. It was 1,500 something miles, probably 1,500 almost on the dot. And I thought it was going to be this really special thing. I think it was like blue tape, right? And they just like wrote with like a marker. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, halfway. I was like, okay. I'm like, woo, you know.
You're only halfway started.
Yeah. I remember thinking, woo. And then it was after that you had told me that you were basically done unless this last thing would work, the last little treatment that they were going to do for you. And I remember going, oh crap, like we're only halfway. And I remember talking to Sonia, and we're just like, okay, like we're just going to do it, I guess, you know. But that was full anticipation of just like total hell, right? Like the kind of pain that was gonna incur, and the pace to have to like make it in the cutoff time, you know. And I was just like super terrified of it, ready but terrified. So when this clown shows up ready to roll again, dude, I've never been so grateful. I'm like, yeah, baby, I got a teammate. Like, and then to his credit, because that day, like I might have ridden a little bit more, right? And to his credit, like later that night, like he kind of rode some extended shifts as we swapped through.
They're just sore and getting through it. Nothing you can do, just one pedal at a time. I just got some tendonitis in my Achilles, and so
We don't know where the garment
it was
is.
almost down and out, but Dr. Neff hooked me up, got me taken care of, and we've been pedaling for a day and a half since. The Garmin's right there. So just push through the pain and get there. So these shorter pulls will help get our energy back up, get us ready for this afternoon, put this forsaken state behind us, sorry anybody, and go from there.
So there's many times mentally I went to the pain locker, is what I called it. So especially that second half where it hurt, and it hurt really bad. And if you continue to dwell on that, and you dwell on it hurting, and can I do this, can I not do that, the doubts start to come in. So I had this, just mentally, I would just say, okay, I'm gonna put that in the pain locker, I'm gonna shut that door, right? And so I'd open it up in my mind, I'd put that pain in there, and I'd slam it shut. And every time I do that mentally, I would just push a little bit harder, and I just go right through it and say it's done. And it was just amazing how it would just be like, it's gone. Like it's gone from your brain, and your body just takes over, mind over matter. and you climb up that next hill, or you do whatever. But I think the hardest part for me was on some of those exchanges. So as we're going through Missouri and West Virginia and some of those where you're towards the end of it, right? And you think, okay, like this sucks, and then pretty soon you see the van come up, and you're like, yeah, it's exchange time, and they're like, okay, we'll meet you up there, and they go off, but they're going like 20-30 minutes up the road, like by you cycling, climbing up this stuff, and so that was always defeating to me. You're like, I'm there, I'm just about ready to do my exchange, and then the van comes, and then off it goes. It just disappears, and you're just stuck climbing.
Yeah, those expectations are the difficult moments, really, if you think about it. Whatever you expect, and then you're told differently, like it's hard. So you could be out there, for example, and it could be the middle of the night, and you went on your bike thinking it's an hour pull, and you get off your bike 2 hours later, and somewhere in the middle there you were told you had to go further. And every time that happened, that's always a mental game. It's a difficult moment.
I don't know what it is. Good times, guys.
That's right, bud.
How are you doing? Pretty good? Good? Hanging in here. Not much longer. Yeah, you'll have it.
Good times, right? Now everything hurts. Sure, thanks for coming. What next? We ride our bikes across Russia? You want to do it?
What's that?
He said right across Russia.
What's next? That Siberian thing? You seen that?
I've heard of it, yes.
Stupid.
Yeah, not like this.
All right, so I estimate 24 hours-ish. Am I right?
We're figuring noon, 2, 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh, good.
4 o'clock maybe.
So one more.
So, yeah,
One more.
Depends on how the oscillations go.
Cool. I can't feel my fingers anymore. You could smash them and I wouldn't feel it. You want to bite it?
No. We need to get you in the van though, big guy. We need to get you in the van.
The hardest moments of RAM, I would be willing to bet my last dollar that they're almost always centered around an expectation that you created or that you allowed somebody to create for you. And that's just dangerous. You shouldn't expect anything. You should just pedal and you should enjoy it.
So you're tired at that point. For me, it was just hard because I couldn't really put any watts down, so I was slow climbing.
You were still injured.
It sucked, but you get through like all that stuff. You get through all of Colorado, and you're getting close to being done, right? Like you can see where, hey, we're past that halfway point. The numbers are getting smaller, and then it's like Appalachians, slap you in the face, and I've never been out that way. I have no idea how that was or anything like that. So all those ups and downs and the stupid detour.
The Appalachians were a surprise.
Yeah.
Like they're like legendarily tough in RAM, especially because it's at the end of the race. But they were a surprise. I never looked at the race profile or course. I never do. It's almost like a thing for me. I just won't. Like I just show up and ride. But I recommend looking at the course profile because you get there and you're like, holy crap. Yeah. I mean, they were steep. So see,
still half the climbing.
The Colorado ones were sustained climbs and they kind of wear on you because they're sustained, at least for me. The Appalachians weren't as sustained, but they were steeper. Like they felt steeper, but they were at least so dang beautiful. I thought the scenery was so cool. Oh yeah. Because like the East Coast, I've seen some of that stuff when I was a kid, but so it was neat to just ride through some of that and go, wow, like this really sucks how steep it is, but look how beautiful it is, But they were relentless little, just steep, pitchy little climbs. By the end you start calculating things in your own mind, and your crew's giving you information to calculate off of. And I remember coming to the conclusion that we had just survived our last night. And I was so pumped to find out that we had survived our last night, to be told a few hours later that they were wrong. We had to ride the whole day, of course, and then a whole nother night. Yeah. And sure enough, we did. We finished a whole nother night the next morning, right as the sun was coming up. Yeah. So I remember that kind of gut punch, like the rug being pulled out. And it's, you know, it's laughable, really. I don't remember laughing, but it is one of those moments where you just go, what are you gonna stop now just because they said one more day? Like, who cares? Like, you just ride another day, I guess, right?
All right.
Gettysburg was and is an amazing like place, right? It was the very last night for us on the bike. Tommy was limping, even pedaling at that point. That was one of the moments where he had to go a little bit longer and unanticipated. Gettysburg was dark, so we didn't get to see a whole lot. What was cool about Gettysburg, though, was that was the only time in the race that we rode next to each other.
Yeah.
There was a team behind us. I don't know if it was Brazil or whoever it was.
Italians.
Oh, the Italians were behind us, and they were the closest ones to us. But it didn't. It still felt like we had the time to just hang out. And so for 10 minutes or so, we just, as friends, we got to chit chat and hang out. And so during that part of Gettysburg, like, we could just relax and chill and just chit chat.
Yeah, so it's like we didn't get the full experience, right? Because we didn't see it during the daytime. But it was pretty cool. Just you understand the history that's there. You understand the magnitude of what happened there, and the statues as we're going by. Like I said, it's pitch black, so as our lights kind of unveil a statue of a soldier, or the monuments that were there, it was pretty neat.
It was meaningful to recognize and realize that where we were riding, like, a lot of blood had spilled. And those were the fields that battle had happened in, and we were rolling through these fields, and the entrance to Gettysburg and some of the the initial statues along that first main driveway we could see, and that was cool. Like, that was neat, but it was dark.
And I think too, it kind of that kind of brought our country together. It's kind of that unity. And as we were riding across America and across the country, just the overall friendliness of people that we encountered. Yeah. I mean, you have some jerks and driving in their cars and whatever, but for the most part, like, all the aid stations, all the people, our crew, and just the feeling of oneness and togetherness and helpfulness and friendliness, especially going through some of those backcountry roads and those small little towns and seeing the American flags on barns.
Yeah, everywhere.
It was just beautiful and awesome, and it kind of reminded you of, hey, pretty cool country that we live in, and pretty great place to be, and great friends to be with, and that American spirit.
Dude was an amazing teammate. No complaints, right? Why are you hesitating?
That's what the video confessional's for.
One of my favorite things about this experience with Tommy is that it never felt weird at all. Like, we just did what we had to for each other without question, and like, that's cool. Like, that's how it's supposed to be.
That's how we roll.
That's how we roll, and that's how we got second place. There's only one way they can feel that. They gotta go do that. I mean, there's all kinds of adjectives. Like, it was incredible, it was amazing, it was beyond description. I mean, all of that applies. But it's super unique to each person, what you sacrificed to be there, the demons you overcame while you were out there. All of that builds into that feeling at the end. And it's not just one hard moment, it's like days, like 7 days or whatever of hard moments, right? That all build up, of you overcoming each of those, that build up to what it's like for a feeling and finishing. But more impressive was like our crew.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Our crew was nothing but positive and encouraging, and I don't know, I like, it was, to me, that was a really special part of the experience. It made me want to work harder, made me want to ride harder. I didn't want to let them down. They were able to work through whatever.
They're awesome, friends for life.
Yeah, for sure. To the crew.
Life is meant to be enjoyed, it's meant to be lived, and don't live life as a spectator, but as a participant. And I think in whatever it is that you have some wild goal that's out there. Ride your bicycle across America. It might be graduating college. It might be, improving your status in life, or whatever the case might be. Whatever your dream and your goal is that you have, I think it's important to have those. And just like in Ram, all the sacrifice and hard work, and you're going to get slapped upside the head. You're going to start, take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, but you persevere and you do that. And when you finally meet that goal of whatever it is that you wanted to do in your life that you set, that's it's just a really good feeling, and you feel accomplished in what you did. And just like in our adventure, you can't do it alone. It takes a crew, it takes a team, it takes sometimes medical professionals to help you out. It takes a whole bunch of work to do that. But if it's a worthy goal and it's a dream and a goal that you have, you just got to keep doing it. You just got to keep pedaling. And many times it was just pedal, just however slow it goes. Each pedal stroke is one stroke that's closer to meeting that goal. It was a little bit of relief saying, hey, we're finally done. For me, it was a treat because my wife was at the end, so that was fun to be able to see her after 7.5 days. Missed her birthday. Sorry, sweetie, love you. But I blame the Achilles. So I think just having those goals. Do you have to ride across America to feel that? No, but just set something out there that you think is just you can't accomplish it, and tell yourself you can. And keep working at it until you can.
Not everything is so physically demanding, and so compressed into a week. So it's a unique experience. It's called the world's toughest bike race for a reason.
That it is.
I've had some acquaintances in the ultra cycling world that have also done Everest, where they've climbed and summited Everest, and they said hands down that Ram was harder, like hands down. Everest was more scary and dangerous to them, but from a difficulty level and a endurance level, like it was just that hard. So it's hard to explain what that feeling's like. I agree with Tommy though, like with anything that you set your mind to in terms of a big goal and the challenges that you overcome are going to build to that incredible feeling of you did something and you accomplished something. And I think each time those are going to be unique. So Ram for us is unique, and people who've done Ram will know what that's like. Much like people who've struggled through college and got a degree will know what that's like versus others who didn't, right? Like it's unique. I think there's some principles though that, like you talked about, that are going to be common for anybody going through something. But to finish Ram and to finish in second place really was, just had to be there.